every artist in Jamaica do reggae still. And what happened is that it go on and go on till I come with a program where I was supposed to go play reggae from all over the place. I think Mackenzie is the one where they suggest say, well, most of the years you have the music them, you know. We play reggae music from all over the world. So I say, okay. So I'm not when we join the station, I will start to play. I start to talk. And it eventually take over the music itself and the talking start to become more important than the music. And the man who owned the station never did mind it because it wasn't supposed to be a talk radio. It's supposed to be a music radio. So we go on there after 30 odd years and we still a talk. And the influence we gather, I have to say is one of well, I don't have to say it, but it's a program with garner interest from all over the world till they make all book out of it now. Now, the point for me I make is that talking is not just talking. Because people are saying, what you do? I say, what I do? I talk. It's something I do. I'm going to do with the talking thing. So we use what we have and the knowledge what we have to bring out certain information on the radio. And in that, it become one of the most popular programs ever. And really and truly now, we still have play the music, you know. But the music is not the thing. And anytime we play music, it will lead to where we are saying. We don't just take up tune and play tune. It's a theme. We have a theme with the tune. If you are talking about, you know, family, we play some family tune. If you are talking about gun lyrics, we play gun lyrics where I talk about put on the gun and them something there. That I didn't spend 1 hour pure gun music. And all the tune them I mention gun. But it's not gun for to kill people, it's gun for put on. Now, the reality of it is that I personally, in my experience, feel say there should be more communication with the radio, disc jock, and the people, other than just I say, we want to big up Johnny in a town, and big up Mary in a St. James, and big up this, and people spend 2-4 hours, and big up people, big up the Iceman, big up the Chuckman and all that. And you can talk to the people then. So I personally feel say one of the things them that can be done by the radio and the MC who have 4 hours by the radio, maybe every day, is to talk to the people. You know, talk to the people, give them something of value and sensible, something to listen to. And you play the music. And if you was to talk to the people, them, you'd find, say, you're not going to play a music outside of where you talk about. Because it's what you talk about going to guide you what to play. And that I find it with myself, that when I talk something, I want to find a tune that match what me I say. And you don't go outline. So I feel, say, that formula to me it work. I don't know if it can work with another DJ. I know Cardell used to do it because I know Cardell used to do it on radio. And him talk and play music. And I remember a brethren were dead, long time. Him dead, Dixon, Jeff Dixon. He was early day like me. And he used to talk. He talk about energy and this and that. And he play the music to fit to him and say, and it was one of the populist programs. So I think it's very important right now, since we find ourselves at this dilemma, to talk to the people them, other than just send greetings over there so and greetings over there so, and I talk about who are doing this in America and PBB and Beyonce and all these things. Not that you can't talk about it because you must have a place for it, but you can't spend 4 hours on the radio not saying nothing to the people them more than big up this and big up that. Because the music there, reggae music have something to do with every topic, bad or good. And we must can find something. To my level, that is the bridge. The bridge between the young and the old is the young and the old who depend on the radio must talk And as I say, only the dumb envy the talkative. Because talking is not just a blah 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 blah. That is when you know say you blah 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 blah. It's when every day you get up and I say, big up the ice man named Tony. Big up the girl with the other dance that night. This and this and that. That is where you read it. So we want to call the next panelist here. Perry Cummins Jr. Perry Cummins Jr. How you do?
Blessings, Muta. I'm well, and
Yes.
I must say to Broadcasting Commission, thank you for having me. Um, just following suit regarding the whole idea of what the bridge is. For me, I believe there is a need to bridge the gap between persons in our formative years when it comes to music, and of course the newer school, as they often put it. I am a young man, probably one of the younger persons here, but I appreciate older music. I appreciate some of the songs I hear, even outside of the gospel genre. I'm a gospel recording artist, but I appreciate some of the Bob Marley songs. I appreciate some of the older music that communicates positivity. So for me, Muta, and for the panelists, it is more of the messaging for me more than the genre itself. That's probably something we can look into more, because what I find is that oftentimes when it comes to music specifically, we tend to segregate and form perspectives and perceptions based on the genre. So once we hear reggae, we think a particular way. Once we hear gospel, we think a particular way. Once we hear dancehall. But I've heard positive music coming from the dancehall community. So for me, it's messaging, Muta. For me, it's what we say, not necessarily how it's communicated, because patois has its place. I hear persons oftentimes saying that patois does not have a place in music, and the way in which language is very important, and patois is relatable, and we are Jamaican people. So we must appreciate the Creole. We must appreciate that form of expression. I have used patois in my own gospel music. A lot of persons saying, "What gospel? How you use patois in that?" But it has its place. It allows me to be relatable to young people. So I think that is very important. However, I do see though where the gap that exists is for a number of reasons. One, as mentioned earlier by one of the panelists, is that the music isn't as accessible by the older community. They may not know how to access that type of music, so there's not that great level of appreciation from the old school for the new school. Probably if we could probably make the music of our days today more accessible, then they could probably have a different perspective. Because of the technology, young people now, they can YouTube this, they can TikTok that, and they can know songs by Vibes Cartel, by Michael Jackson, that they didn't know of before, and they now can appreciate the craft. So I think bridging the gap has a lot to do with technology. I believe if we can utilize technology in an appropriate way, right? We touched on AI earlier. If we can find a way to responsibly use technology, then we could be well on our way of bridging the gaps that do exist. I won't be long. I'll also touch on the issue of social responsibility. And I'm looking in the chat and I'm seeing some persons touching on the word socialization. I don't believe that we should forever censor people from freely expressing themselves. I am a gospel artist that speaks profoundly and unapologetically about my faith in God. And I wouldn't want somebody to say, well, Perry, you shouldn't express your faith. So I want persons to have the opportunity to express themselves freely. However, we must drive home the point of social responsibility. Yes, there is freedom of speech, but what you say, can it affect positively or negatively the impressionable minds of our youth? What you say of power. Muta, you mentioned the power of words. Words can change a man's life, can change a woman's life in an instant. One word of positivity can prevent someone from committing suicide. So we must drive home, and I hope as we advance in the conversation, we can touch on social responsibility. What is my role in ensuring that I positively impact this generation and even others through music, through what I communicate? But I will digress for now.
Give thanks. Okay, so we want to ask the big man a question here. Cardi la the big man, you know, Cardi will attack. You are going to keep running outside, we attack too. All right. Misinformation from the media, you know, is a big thing. People are using AI, people are using people's voice to do all sort of madness and defame people. Even myself was victim of that the other day. You know, definition of character. All right. The question is, you think it's necessary to take legal action against these things when you see some come out defaming your character? You think it's going to reach anyway?
Yeah, yes. And you've raised an important point, Muta, that in talking about this generational gap, we have to talk as well about artificial intelligence, in particular generative artificial intelligence, and something you mentioned at the very beginning, although you didn't put it that way, neurotechnology, where you're talking about implants and so on. Now you have technology capable of reading the brainwaves, right? And there is no legal protection actually from having your brain not being read. So when you say it's complex, it is. You know, we have to be talking about a new jurisprudence of the mind, protecting the mind as a separate computing system that should be inviolate to intrusion. So that's the complication, and the challenge we're having now with deep fakes is like the tip of the iceberg. You're asking about suits. Yes, people need to understand that the digital world doesn't mean we abandon laws in the physical world. Vincent in the chat is talking about the need for literacy, digital media and information literacy. That's key before we get to the law, before we get to suits. Because you have some people who are deliberately, they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing and they're being deliberate. Muta, whole heap of people are not setting out to harm nobody. They have no clue the harm they are causing when, before you even talk about deepfakes, when you just take up your phone now, for example, and you see somebody in distress, like a serious accident with carnage, right? And Archibald, when he goes on the scene, knows as a broadcaster the harm that can be done to the family and to other people if he just simply records that carnage, come on the 7 o'clock news and say, there's been a serious accident. Look here now, how the manhunt chop off. But the average citizen who is caught up in a loop in a world where virality matters and likes matters and goes on the scene and take the photo, the video and uploads it. Look what going down a sentence. He really doesn't mean to harm anybody. But who prepared our citizens for this world that we're in now? Right? Everybody is a is a celebrity. Everybody have people following them. One time is only celebrity, quote unquote celebrity, were in that position. And they have people who they hire. They have PR expert who explain to them how they should communicate and what they should do and what they shouldn't say and the implications if you say certain things. The average citizen doesn't have that preparation. So people have put them baby on the internet, not thinking about pedophilia and the consequences of when that child grew. Look, right now, my daughter, who is a grown woman, she's embarrassed at some of her baby pictures. You know, very embarrassed. Even now as an adult, I will have a photo of my daughter, and this is wonderful. And no, daddy, do not share that. Don't share these things. I have to go through all my photographs before. Very sensitive, grown person. What about when the child has no decision in that process and people are filming them, taking photographs, putting them online and so on? So you're right about the question of law, and we should make it abundantly clear in this bridging the gap, in helping not just the younger generation, but all generations who are in the digital space to understand that it is true that the operating systems of the society seem to be changing, and very, very quickly. And we are being made very powerful with these devices. And by the way, that's a fiction. That is a fiction. We're actually getting weaker by these devices, not more powerful. People are becoming less informed because there's a whole heap of information overload, and incidentally sharing everything about them, all their data. So right now you have major companies that know more about you, that can predict your behavior, and more importantly, influence you without your even knowing it. So digital media and information literacy, as I said to Vincent in the chat, I think that is a key regulatory tool. So when you were talking about them something can't work again, and so you're right about that. It doesn't mean regulation is ineffective. It's a different intelligence that is required. Yeah. So that's why the Broadcasting Commission is so focused on digital media and information literacy, because we know you need the citizen, the best informed, the more digitally literate citizen you have. That's your first line of defense, even if they're exposed to harmful content. So it's really a partnership and a collaboration that's required. And that's why this discussion between the generations is an important discussion, because the older generation are as vulnerable as the younger generation in this new dispensation. The two generations will have to talk about the society we are crafting, or which is being crafted for us. That's more appropriate.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
So may I answer you, sir?
Yeah, man.
All right.
Man. Give me more than an answer too. All right. We want to ask about the media. If the media is a reflection of the society, we want to ask one of the panelists, Andrea, she name out there. If the media is a reflection of the society, because people say that rather than people are influencing the media.
Yeah, I do think that artists reflect both what's happening in society and what's happening personally within them. So what we get in music and media is reflective of people's lived experience. And as I mentioned before, I really believe in artistic freedom. I think the market will decide what is popular, what is liked, people will gravitate towards things. And similarly, in terms of regulation, I think that we have to have a balance between the media education as well as user-driven regulation. The scale that these billions of posts are made every single day is no longer you're regulating a radio station. You are regulating every single channel that media can come to you on. And it's billions and billions of posts. It's just not scalable to say that you're going to have a centralized regulation of all of this media that's coming at you. So, it's just not practical. So that community-driven moderation is going to be very important. The centralized regulation, I also have a healthy distrust of it. There was always an agenda, as Cordell mentioned, right? Cambridge Analytica, etc. They were always selling your product, shaping a narrative or a worldview, right? So the centralized, I don't believe it's scalable, and I don't believe that its intent was pure, So I do think that we have to have that decentralized responsibility along with the education so that users and communities can really develop their own moderation norms. And when these guardrails come off, because we're seeing what happens where, they're saying you can't ban this and you can't ban that, the trends happening in the US now. What is happening is that water will find its own level. Blue Sky has a very different feel from a Twitter. Twitter has a very different feel from a Threads. And hopefully, what I hope is that it will become self-regulating in that people will have to just have more personal responsibility for what is true, what is fake, discernment. It will require education, but I think that's where we're going to end up at.
Okay.
Because I think it's a losing battle if we're trying to fight AI, if we're trying to fight the internet, if we're trying to fight social media. That is a losing battle. That horse has already gone through the gate. So now it's about how do we talk to our children? How do we, establish critical thinking in not only our children, but in the wider society so that we can discern with the volume of media that's coming towards us.
Okay. So a 16-year-old asking Wayne if or we're going to join the music like Gen Z and the Gen X.
Are we going to, sorry?
Join them, the Gen Z and the Gen X, the music.
We have to have that family conversation. And when I say family, I mean the Jamaican family. I said earlier that even though we are a diverse community, a diverse nation, there's strength in the diversity if we can come together around some common values, some common core values. We are a society that loves our freedom, and I would not sacrifice our freedom. But freedom cannot be licensed. We are a society that loves our individual rights, but individual rights cannot take precedence over family and community and national obligations. So we have to find that balance, and it comes from a conversation. We have to have a national conversation. As I said, we have to strengthen ourselves against the flood. The flood is there. The issue is that once upon a time, you would have regulators who could regulate the JBC and the RJR and the JBC TV and so on. And societies are not without precedent. It's interesting to note that the most prestigious prize in journalism in the United States is named the Pulitzer Prize. Joseph Pulitzer made his fortune in yellow journalism. He and William Randolph Hearst at the end of the 19th century had a battle, the two big New York newspapers of the time, to see who could be the most salacious, the most scandalous, the most inflammatory. And historians will tell you it precipitated America's intervention in the Spanish-American War. It was the spreading of disinformation and riling up the public that led America to one war. And we see it playing out again before us. The challenge we have now is that it plays out much more quickly and it's harder to regulate. It's not just about salacious lyrics or lyrics that incite to violence. It's misinformation, fake information. And what we're seeing now, is that truth is being overwhelmed. The sheer volume of things that just come at us. We don't know what is true anymore. It's difficult to discern. And the only refuge we have is let us huddle and come up and talk about common values. What does it mean to be a Jamaican? What does it mean to live on a fragile, developing country, 60-odd years old? We need to have that conversation. We can't get away from it. It will have critical thinking, but the most important thing is shared values. What are our shared values? What is that join us together? Whether we're a gospel artist, whether we're a Christian, whether we're a Rastafari, whether we're Adventist, whatever. Whether we love Sade, whether we love Kate Bush, whether we love Valiant, Skeng, Skilly Bang, Bob Marley, Protege, there are common things that we can say we enjoy together because we are Jamaican. And we need to have that.
You talk about. Yeah, that's something Mackenzie.
Yeah.
1 minute.
There are two important points because we have a digital problem, but the solution is going to be analog. In other words, self-regulation is paramount. How we deal with this technology and how we prepare ourselves to deal with this technology is the ultimate way that we're going to challenge it. The other thing we talk about, for me, is what I call reciprocal mentoring. In other words, mentoring cross-generational. So I believe that my son mentors me, and I mentor my son. And the two of us, I think, our knowledge of music and culture is what it is because of that cross-generational talk. And that is critical to everything that we discuss here. We can talk about all the regulations, and it's important that we have education fora like these that we're having here. That's going to be very important. But also critical is how we take responsibility as parents to speak with our children, to let them understand what we are doing and to know what they are doing.
Okay. Okay, so we kind of reach a level now where we just want the panelists them get closing remarks, short, 1 minute again, closing remarks. So we start again from the top. And we go to Wayne. Closing remarks.
You know, I made a quick scan of how other policymakers in other countries, advanced and developing, deal with it. And I like the idea that the Canadian regulators do, where their commission has a long list of parenting tips and huge public education drives to really, as I say, strengthen our people. The flood is there. We can't control access anymore. It's gone beyond us. So what we have control over is our mindsets, our attitudes.
Okay. Andrea?
Thanks, Nito. I'm here.
I agree with what you said, Wayne. I did say that at the beginning. Yes, Andrea.
So just in closing, I've seen a number of shifts in my time, from the record players to the Walkmans to the CD to having a Blockbuster video store to Spotify and Netflix. And that shift to digital, I think, is the most critical thing that's really influenced how we consume and how we produce music and media. I just want to go on the production side for all the creatives that Kingston Creative represents, and up-and-coming Jamaican artists. We didn't touch on how it's influenced what we produce, right? But they may be more influenced to produce trap reggae because of what they are hearing. They're part of the global circle. So no longer can we just, make something that is regulate Jamaica. It's a global space that we're in once we're talking digital.
Yeah.
And the desire to make money, to cross over and to be heard might be changing the unique sound of what is Jamaican and the unique values of what is Jamaican. And just lastly, I truly believe that parents are the strongest influence on the child, not the outside world, not their friends. I think it's really the home environment. What they see you do, what they hear you say, that has the biggest impact. And totally agree with Clyde. You have to make time. Once you can teach them how to rationalize what's coming at them, and if we can put in that time, I think that we, the family structure, not just necessarily the nuclear family, but extended too, we, the community, can be the strongest influence in their lives.
Okay. Courtney?
Yeah. In my opinion, for the closing remarks, I feel like I'm just going to be a broken record and reiterate what I said earlier. The parents, I agree with Miss Andrea that the parents do, come first in terms of the influence of children. But in the unfortunate event that influence is not there, I believe that the greatest responsibility is on the powers that be, whether it be the government or, you know what I mean, to influence the children and steer them into the right direction. So I think more concerts, more school tours, more advertisements during the news. I see that the Broadcasting Commission has an advertisement going on right now teaching people about AI and deepfakes, and I love that advertisement because it is very informative. So I think, you know, more initiatives, more positive initiatives, and more, you know, more impact on the music and the culture, and more steering it into a positive direction.
Good job. Very.
Thank you. For my closing remarks, I'll just emphasize what I've shared earlier. We have a social responsibility to our children, the future of our country. We must ensure that we communicate what is profitable to positively impact the future of this nation. I must also acknowledge again the gap that really and truly exists and the possibilities of using technology responsibly to ensure that that gap is bridged. And of course, we must clearly define the standard. What is the standard when it comes to creativity? What is the standard when it comes to our music? Who or what are we guided by when we produce what we produce? Thank you.
Give thanks. We're turning it over to Archbishop.
Thanks, Mota. And I thank Mota as well as the panelists there in that discussion. We heard from Clyde McKenzie. Well, he ended up in the discussion as well. There was so much to chew on that he wanted to comment. But apart from Clyde, we were really hearing from Andrea Chung, Wayne Chen, Perry Cummings Jr., and Courtney as well. And I think it's very interesting how no matter how much we discuss these issues, we wind up talking about the fact that at the end of the day, it takes a village. You know, you need a regulator, but you also need people in all sorts of different sectors to work together to get this done. But as we've been speaking about the role of the regulator, the Broadcasting Commission of Jamaica plays a key role in promoting responsible content, supporting media literacy, and ensuring that content remains within appropriate guidelines. So to hear a little bit about how it's navigating these challenges, I'm inviting now and introducing Sasha Harrison, who will walk us through their initiatives. Sasha, over to you.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity to share more about the resources that are made available by the Broadcasting Commission of Jamaica for the safe and healthy consumption of content. For the past 8 years, the Commission's mission has been to ensure a successful national transition to a digital economy while protecting the people of Jamaica from potential abuses of communication and influence. This mission, of course, informs our strategic objective to be a responsive, evidence-based, and innovative regulator, and it informs our commitment to future-proofing our approach to regulation. The BCJ sees digital media and information literacy, in particular the ability to self-regulate, as an important pillar of our approach to protecting the most vulnerable from harm. This timeline highlights some of the key initiatives conducted by the BCJ over the last 5 years to support safe and healthy consumption of content. It is by no means exhaustive, as the BCJ is constantly engaged locally and around the world in activities such as our global annual Artificial Intelligence for Information Accessibility Conference, and conducting studies such as our recently concluded study on trends in media consumption and attitudes towards the regulation of traditional and new media, the results of which we hope to share at another future engagement. We will speak more about some of the initiatives highlighted on this timeline, but for a more comprehensive list of speeches, presentations, and other publications from the Broadcasting Commission on related issues, please visit our website at broadcastingcommission.org. One of our dedicated and one of the most accessible resources we have for improving digital media and information literacy is the Get Safe Online Jamaica website, which the BCJ supports. It is a leading resource for unbiased, factual, and easy to understand information on online safety. This website is a unique resource as it provides practical advice on how to protect yourself, your family, your finances, devices, and your workplace against many problems encountered online. The BCJ was a major force behind this launch in the Caribbean in 2019, and we continue to champion this initiative. So for more information and to keep yourself safe online, please visit getsafeonline.org.jm. The BCJ also engages a wide cross-section of stakeholders in a variety of ways in an effort to improve the digital literacy of Jamaicans. As was referenced in the conversation earlier, that is being practiced in other jurisdictions, we have a number of public education initiatives. Our national media campaigns address important issues during primetime media and across the most popular social media channels with the intention to reach a wide cross-section of Jamaicans. You may have noticed recently a new campaign educating Jamaicans about generative AI, specifically deepfakes. So you can expect more of these types of campaigns on the challenges confronting society from the Commission. These campaigns, of course, are bolstered by extensive in-person engagements with the possibility of impacting upwards of 5,000 youths and adults across the island in any given year. The campaigns are also supported by stakeholder consultations around important policy, regulation, and research, some of which we will share briefly in the next few slides. In 2023, after extensive consultation and national survey and a final validation exercise, the Broadcasting Commission presented a digital media and information literacy policy framework for Jamaica to the Office of the Prime Minister. We will share findings from our national survey, which was conducted in early 2021, which featured a nationally representative sample of 1,004 Jamaicans between the ages of 18 and 89 years old. So on this slide, we have the median Jamaican competency profile. We can interpret this as the average Jamaican is a young adult female, high school graduate who owns and uses a smartphone primarily for the purposes of socialization and entertainment. She works full-time and she earns a salary of less than $100,000 per month, providing her access to a lower middle income lifestyle. This survey provided a number of insights, and it taught us that first, digital services, education, engagement, published experiences must be designed to be consumed from a mobile phone as a priority. That is, successful interventions must be mobile first. The DMIL competencies prevalent among Jamaica's adult population are driven by lifestyle and culture, not by the formal economy. And finally, despite most Jamaicans scoring very highly in the competence areas of communication and collaboration, as well as media, information, and data literacy, Jamaicans still rate themselves as low, as having low skills as it pertains to engaging in digital citizenship via digital technologies. This framework, as mentioned, is a national framework. But this year, the Commission proposes to create a demonstration case for the proposed policy for use by other industries with the application of this national framework within the media and communication sector. We encourage you to look out for more on that initiative. We now shift our focus to the content code. In 2022, our consultant concluded a revision of the Children's Code for Programming. That revision began in 2020, and we now have a comprehensive report and our new regulatory tool, the Content Code. The revised code aims to address the unique needs of children creatively and widens the remit of duty of care to include everyone here today: parents, caregivers, educators, religious leaders, and public health providers as well. This table highlights for us the major differences between the two codes. The original code was designed for our licensees, and as mentioned, the remit is now widened. It's not just for licensed content providers, but providers of content and content services wherever you consume content. That is traditional and new media. The target platforms for this code have been expanded because, again, it is wherever you consume content. Our traditional tools were ratings, scheduling, and advisories. Now we have extended the tools to include guiding principles in line with the UN Convention of the Rights of the Child. Those are protection, provision, and importantly, participation. It addresses a wide range of issues, including accuracy and new issues such as immersion and persuasive tech. Over the course of the last year, the Commission has hosted a series of live virtual consultations with stakeholders under the major groupings of traditional and new media, family and community, the public sector, and the private sector. We concluded those consultations with validation of the code in November. These activities, these extensive consultations that informed the content code, highlighted the need to design two distinct versions of the code, one for licensees and another for citizens. Both versions of the code serve as tools to ensure responsible content creation and consumption. However, the licensee version covers the professional obligations of licensed media to operate in the public interest. The citizen version seeks to do a lot of what we have discussed today. It seeks to empower individuals and families with the knowledge to protect themselves and their children in a digital-first world. Both will work together to build a responsible, inclusive, and innovative media ecosystem in Jamaica. I'll now show you a brief video on the content code, and I ask you to think about it deeply and let us know what you think. Thank you.
In today's fast-paced digital world, staying informed and connected is more important than ever. Within this rapidly evolving digital landscape, we must ensure that Jamaican citizens are positioned to take advantage of the technology and equipped with the safeguards to protect against the dangers, especially for our children and those most vulnerable. Introducing the Content Code, an internationally benchmarked tool that will replace the current Children's Code for programming. By following its guidelines, consumers and content providers can participate in protecting children from the negative impact of media violence, sexual content, and adult language across all platforms and media. Developed by the Broadcasting Commission of Jamaica in line with the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, the code addresses three main priorities for children: protection, provision, and participation. Imagine a scenario where you stumble upon inappropriate content without any warning or advisories. The risks are real: violence, adult language, sexual content, exploitation, and discrimination are just a few examples of the dangers lurking behind your screens. This becomes more likely for all of us without the guidance and framework of a content code. It is essential for all Jamaicans, from young people to guardians and the elderly, to understand the code, as it helps to ensure a safer media experience for everyone, whether they're watching TV, listening to the radio, or consuming content online. The new code extends the traditional rating guide and emphasizes emerging safety issues of privacy, inclusion, immersion and persuasive technology, child sexual exploitation and abuse content, advertising to children, and more. The new component for inclusion emphasizes the role that everyone has to play in keeping Jamaica's children safe. The components of the content code are as follows. Accuracy must be maintained in provided content and free of intent to harm. Ads should be appropriate for the consumer's age, factual and reasonable. Notice should be given prior to sharing content with problematic sounds or images. Age-appropriate ratings should be applied when delivering content to children. Child sexual exploitation and abuse material must not be shared. Evidence should be reported when found from an identifiable source. Decency assessments should include violence, language, and sex ratings using the rating guide. Discriminating content that promotes hate or incites violence should be avoided or rated adult/not for transmission depending on format. All users should have access, receive information, and share it within the bounds of the law. Platforms/devices should make it easy for users to take breaks and know when persuasive design is embedded in tech. Language used in content sharing should be understandable and accurate. Parents and guardians should ensure their child's media use is healthy. Seek professional help if a media problem exists. Sensitivity must be taken regarding victims of crime/trauma in depictions. They must have input over how their images are used. Parents, guardians, and the general public should take into account the content code when considering how best to protect the most vulnerable persons under our care from harmful or inappropriate content. It is a practical guide in 1. Determining what is suitable for children. 2. Understanding the importance of parental guidance. And 3. Flagging and reporting inappropriate content. Media practitioners may use the content code in 1. Evaluating children's needs to produce content that is age appropriate. 2. Creating effective programming schedule to ensure that specific programs are transmitted to suitable audiences. 3. Assessing, rating, and measuring programs with problematic material to efficiently issue advisories before transmission. The content code will be key to a successful national transition to a digital economy. It encourages the smart use of technology, responsible consumption of content, and above all, protects us, our rights, and our future generations. We want to hear from you as we finalize the content code. Join with us as we move towards creating a safer, more inclusive digital landscape in Jamaica for everyone.
What the Broadcasting Commission has been doing overall to deal with this matter of responsible content. As we close, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the contributions of everyone who made today's discussion possible. We had quite an enriching discussion. I want to thank our panelists for sharing their knowledge as well as their perspectives. I want to thank Muta Baruka for expertly moderating our discussion, the Broadcasting Commission of Jamaica for their ongoing work in media literacy and content regulation, our audience from all across the world for engaging in this critical conversation and sharing your thoughts as well. And before you leave, we're kindly asking that you complete the session evaluation. Your feedback is really, really, really important. And very often people, come to these sessions and they run off without completing the session evaluation. There's a link in your chat. We're asking that you spend a little bit more time with us, not very long, perhaps a minute at most, just to complete the session evaluation. Your feedback is critical to ensuring that we are discussing the different kinds of things that you want to talk about and also getting a sense of how we can do it even better.
Shaheen just put it in the chat.
Yes, it's in the chat. That's a Google Docs that was put in the chat by Shaheen. Oh yes, and I want to thank Clyde as well. Completely forgot to thank Clyde.
Okay.
As well as Cordell.
Thank you, Muta.
So again, on behalf of the entire team, and Antoinette as well, on behalf of the entire team, thank you for joining us today. We look forward to continuing the conversation. I'm Archibald Gordon. See you next time.
Yes.
Fantastic.
PBCJ's Giving Hearts, the show that celebrates kindness, compassion, and generosity.
So we try to give books, shoes, lunch snacks, and uniform allowance.
We'll share powerful stories of individuals and organizations making a difference across the island each week.
My mother and I felt the need to keep helping children with special needs and other children.
From ordinary people doing extraordinary things to organizations driving positive change.
And we haul up garbage, whether with our nets, hooks, picks.
Giving Hearts will warm your heart and inspire you to take action. Don't miss Giving Hearts, airing Sundays at 8 p.m. with a rebroadcast on Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m. exclusively on PBCJ, the People's Station.
If you want to volunteer, definitely do it. You get actually a rewarding feeling after.
Join the movement. Spread love. Give from the heart. Giving Hearts, Sundays at 8 p.m., Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m. on PBCJ. Follow us on social media at PBCJamaica for updates and more inspiring stories.
We want a piece for Jamaica. Yo, what are you? Oh, man, none of that. Yo, no, brother, no, man. Can I see you ever play ref? Dirty game, man. Yeah, but a bad game. No, I said, person come from, brother, I want to live good, man. I want to live good, brethren. Just shake hands, I can play a little bad, brethren. Really have to shake hands? Yeah, man, and no badness, brethren. Just live good, man. Come together, I make the violence done.
Washing your hands properly can help keep you and others safe. Remember to wash often, especially before eating or touching your face.
Evolution is a race between predator and prey. And more often than not, speed means survival.
Being fast is the name of the game. Prey becomes faster, predator becomes faster.
How could fish fly